Good morning to you, and welcome back to today's JRPG Weekly Update. Guys, the world must have known that it was my birthday last week because all week has just been one thing after another of piping hot, fresh RPG news for me to tell you today, and we've got a lot to go through. So without further ado, let's start things off nice and easy with the Indie Corner, in which case, it's usually kind of like some low-key news. Nope, not today. Sea of Stars, Throes of the Watchmaker DLC, free DLC, mind you, was announced. This is the one of the Kickstarter goals that was met during the crowdfunding, and so we kind of all knew that this was coming for a while now, but now we have a trailer, and this comes from the developer. This Sea of Stars downloadable content finds the Solstice Warriors Valere and Zale venturing into the miniature clockwork world of Horloge, and I hope I said that right. In this magical land where denizens are threatened by a cursed carnival, our heroes will need to adapt to its unfamiliar rules if their sun and moon powers are to manifest. So in this, the game's going to feature new playable classes for Zale and Valere, and new character Artie, the Artificer, is also going to feature new areas, new music. The music in this is already beautiful, new enemies, and it will support the local co-op with up to 3 players that was already introduced in a previous update. Throes of the Watchmaker is coming for free to all of the platforms in spring of 2025, and the trailer it just reminds me of why I loved this game in the first place. I know some people out there really, kind of poo-poo it. I feel like, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, I feel like it's a lot of people who just really liked Chained Echoes so much more that just, that they're like, oh, by comparison, there has to be a winner, right? And so whatever, we all win because both games were awesome, and I particularly loved Sea of Stars. But next up, Eternights, another indie RPG, is coming to the Nintendo Switch. This indie is a relatively short action RPG that's already available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC via Steam, and the Epic Game Store, but now it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, and this comes from the developer. Eternights is a dating action game blending a love story with adrenaline-driven combat as you make the most out of life during the apocalypse. Scavenge for supplies, explore dungeons, and go on dates. And I played a little bit of it, and I think I even made a little short video kind of giving my first impressions on the game back when it was, just about to come out, but I didn't have the full version of the game. But what I played of it was really fun. Legitimately, it was it was a lot. It almost, I don't know, it feels like it's really good for being, a 3D polygonal action RPG made by an indie studio. Like, I don't know, it surpassed my expectations. And the little dating thing is kind of cute on the side. I didn't really get to experience too much of that, but I do remember the trailers, press X to hold hands. Anyways, this is going to be available both digitally and physically on October 17th, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Next, I saw this little indie strategy RPG called Strategem Lost get announced here. The demo is coming out on October 14th, and this comes from the developer. Brave perilous turn-based strategy encounters and uncover dark conspiracies in a broken world. Draft your team of unique characters and have them learn skills from each other. Welcome to hard times. Can you recover what has been lost? The trailer for that I thought looked pretty dang sweet, and while the demo is still just around the corner, I'm not sure when the full game's going to be released. That part does not appear to have been announced, but if you're into strategy RPGs, keep your eye out for that. Also, I gotta say, the comic book kind of aesthetic, the unique visual style of this, it's so cool. I really dig it. Alright, next up, this one is kind of interesting. Fragrant Story and Papayas Patch has been announced for coming to Nintendo Switch. if this sounds familiar, it's because the game originally came out in 2022, but it already has a little bit of a long history at this point. This was previously the final RPG, and it might have been the final title ever released physically for the 3DS. It was initially released in a kind of a technically finished state with the expectation that they would continue to provide updates to the game that would be released for free via updates through the eShop. Now, gradually, additional patches were released after delays of Nintendo's approval process for the 3DS, slowing things down, but those did eventually come out, and now the project is continuing on by moving over to the Nintendo Switch. So this version of the game has all of the updates included from the 3DS version, pushing it to beyond 10 hours for the main game to finish and around 30 hours if you want to complete the thing. Now, it's available on the Nintendo Switch eShop for just $8 right now, but there are physical versions of the game that you can have for $35, and there's also premium versions that are like $70 that include like a vinyl soundtrack and a prop of like a non-playable Super Nintendo cartridge and box. The proceeds for this game are apparently going to be going to a 501c3 charity, which is pretty dang sweet. Yeah, so check it out. I think that the trailer looks pretty neat as well. So there's a little bit of this cult following about this game. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled if that looks interesting to you. Now, just the other day, an indie action-adventure title called Bloodless was announced for Steam for about $15. It is now announced as coming to the Nintendo Switch sometime this year. This comes from the developer. Bloodless is a retro, stylish action-adventure that features fast-paced combat staged at the atmospheric lands of Bakugawa. Help Ronin Tomoe to confront ghosts of her past and end the reign of violence of Shogun Akechi, her former master. This story follows an old Ronin haunted by her past, strives for peace in a violent world. It is apparently inspired by Edo Shogunate Japan. It's an action-adventure, not really an RPG, but I thought that the gameplay looked cool enough that I wanted to kind of feature it anyway and talk about it. So if you can't wait to try it out, you can get it cheap on Steam right now, or you can wait for the release date to be announced for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this next one I'm pretty sure is going to have a lot of you guys over the moon. To the Moon is coming to PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles. It's a pixel art adventure title that I hear is a real tearjerker. The developers say that it's a timeless story about the passage of time, a story-driven experience about two doctors traversing backwards through a dying man's memories to artificially fulfill his last wish. Now, the game's available on Steam for about $10, and the console release dates have not yet been announced. Now, speaking of To the Moon, we also got another little bit of an announcement from them in this it's called Just a To the Moon series beach episode that has been announced. This is a beach episode of the To the Moon series, and for clarity, To the Moon is a single game in a series of loosely connected games by Freebird Games, which also includes A Bird Song, Finding Paradise, and Imposter Factory. This, however, promises to be just a beach episode, and it launches on September 20th on Steam. And now we can talk about some of the big guns. And there were some really big ones. So, Trails in the Sky first remake announced by Falcom for 2025. Wow. I immediately put out a video talking about it wasn't even me talking about it. It was literally just like 6 minutes of me freaking out about the announcement and watching the trailer for the first time. Based on screenshots, it would appear as though it's going to be reusing the Xseed translation. And that's kind of neat, I suppose, because there's rumors that this could potentially facilitate simultaneous worldwide releases as a result of this. As reusing an existing localization would streamline the process by a lot. Now, it's not clear if Falcom are going to be expanding on the original story at all, or if it's, if there's any new content, and if there is, that would probably have to be localized by someone. So, it won't probably cut out all of the work, but it should streamline the process overall quite a bit, if that turns out to be true. Now, currently, only the Nintendo Switch platform has been confirmed, but many of you might notice that the game is far too pretty to be running at 60 frames per second on a Nintendo Switch. Could this be Switch 2 footage, maybe? Or maybe PC footage, or PS4, PS5? We don't really know, and Falcom, well, I've been kind of tight-lipped about this. As far as like a Western publisher goes, they say that it's still to be determined. They say that there is a possibility that we may handle distribution ourselves, quote, but if arrangements are made with a local publisher, they would be responsible for distribution instead, which, you know, that makes a lot of sense. Now, all we know is that we got a 2025 release window, and it's incredibly exciting nonetheless. So, while the Switch is still the most ubiquitous console currently, I hope that this won't be a Nintendo Switch exclusive, because it'd be a real shame to have such a beautiful game limited by the hardware. But if what we're seeing on the trailer is the case, if they can do that on Switch, holy cow. I don't think that is Switch gameplay, though. I don't see how they could do it. Oh well, I guess we'll figure it out. We'll see it eventually. Now, next up, Atlus have lifted an embargo for the hands-on Metaphor ReFantazio preview event. And my video talking about it finally came out as well, because it was also under embargo. So now you all know what I was so excited about last time. So far, it feels like Atlus's Metaphor ReFantazio is flying under the radar for a lot of people, though. With the embargo lift, I'm hoping that more people will start to realize that this game is about to be a pretty big deal. And it's not just because Atlus flew me to New York City. Like, legitimately, I hate flying. I would have preferred it if they had just sent me a code and I had reviewed it. Like, that would have been so much less stress. But getting actually to hang out with Lady Pelvic, Dreamcast guy, and getting to meet other people, that was kind of neat. But like, the event itself, you know, getting to play it early was cool, but like, I don't know, travel sucks. The TSA ruined travel. They've taken the most incredible thing about modern day technology and ruined it by making it feel so degrading and just... Anyway, that's a whole other side tangent. This game is something special. I had a chance to get hands-on with the game for about 2.5 hours, which, as it turns out, is a bit less than other, like, real press were allowed to play based on my talk with Scott from RPGFan.com. But we are both in alignment here that this game is huge. It feels incredibly well done and is basically like an Atlus version of a dark fantasy RPG. I've heard other people refer to it as like a Persona meets Berserk, and that's pretty close, except I haven't seen any giant swords just yet. But hey, I'm only 2.5 hours in, and maybe giant swords are in my future, who knows? And the hits don't stop coming, because Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster finally got a new release date for March 6th of 2025. It was announced way back, like a year ago, and it was going to originally launch around the same time as Eiyuden Chronicle did. But when Eiyuden got delayed, so did Suikoden HD. So, of course, Eiyuden has now been out for some time now, but Suikoden is still taking its time. But now we finally have an updated release window slated for March 6th of 2025, and the new launch date, with it, we got a new trailer. And that new trailer showcased higher resolution character portraits newly updated by Junko Kawano, higher resolution environments leaving the character sprites in their original state, new sound effects that were added for walking, running water, environmental sound effects, higher quality sound samples, and a new trailer appears to feature other changes to the UI that a lot of people kind of complained about from the original trailer, kind of making it look a lot more modern. Now, the game also will feature other quality of life improvements, such as dialogue logs that you can scroll back through if you missed something, as well as a fast forward feature during combat. So, pre-orders are available now for all platforms except for Nintendo Switch, which will start taking pre-orders on September 6th. The following downloadable content will be available with pre-orders for the digital edition, including 57,300 Potch, which is the in-game currency, a fortune orb, which doubles the experience gained by a character who bears it, and then a prosperity orb, which doubles the potch gained when winning a battle with the character that had that orb equipped. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, it's going to be coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam. This is also crazy because Tales of Remaster, Tales of Grace's F Remaster has been announced, and it's going to launch on January 17 of 2025. And they say that this is the first step in the Tales of Series Remaster project. Okay, so it's going to be coming to PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam. And from the developer, they say that this title will be a remastered title of Tales of Grace's F, which was released on PlayStation 3 in 2010 in Japan and Asia, and then in 2013 in Americas and Europe. This title will follow the original version with improved graphics and various useful functions, as well as a number of downloadable content from the original version, including the lineage and legacies that is included is a story that depicts the world 6 months after the end of Tales of Grace's. I hope that's not a spoiler for a game that came out over 10 years ago, but the various release versions of the game will run from 720p 30 frames on Switch in portable mode, or 1080p 30 frames when docked, and then other consoles will support up to 4K 60, and PC will of course be able to go on and beyond at 120 frames, which is pretty cool. And they have a whole graphic kind of showing which ones can do which. You can probably figure it out by guesswork though. Next up, we got a brand new game announced, Atelier Yumia, Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land. It's being announced for the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC for early 2025. Guys, what is going on? We have so many early 2025 games and announcements. This is crazy. A special Gust live stream will air via YouTube on September 2nd in Japanese, where the development team will share more information about the game. It is an alchemy RPG themed around memory, apparently, according to the trailer, and not much else is really known at this time, and already there's just something about the game that's causing quite a stir. Of course, the fact that, it's a very attractive protagonist probably helps a little bit. It worked for Ryza, right? Among other things. Moving along, Yakuza Kiwami is coming to Switch on October 24. Now, it will be available on the eShop for about $20. Yakuza Kiwami is a remake of the original Yakuza game, the one that starts it all off, which was first released on the PlayStation 2 in 2005, and then Kiwami was developed by Sega and released in 2016 for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 in Japan, and then 2017 internationally. Now it comes to Nintendo Switch digitally on October 24, and for just $20, that's a pretty good deal. Yeah, digitally only though, so don't hold out for a don't hold out for a physical release. Then again, maybe on PlayAsia. I don't know. Now we got another one. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma has been announced. This is a newly announced Rune Factory that takes the series from its often vaguely European architecture, landscapes, and cultural elements reminiscent of medieval or fantasy versions of European village and towns and rural areas, and instead plops it right down into Azuma, the seasonal themed Japanese villages inspired by Japanese culture. And this comes from the developer. This all-new adventure takes place in the never-before-seen eastern country of Azuma, where you will assume the Earth Dancer powers and fight against the corruption spreading throughout Azuma to bring hope back to its once prosperous land. Choose from one of two protagonists whose destinies are intertwined by mysterious forces. Use sacred treasures to fight against the Blight's many forms, to restore the people and even gods to their natural glory. Take farming further as you'll manage more than a plot, rebuilding entire villages and cultivating new allies and resources along the way. Based on all of this and the new trailer, I think it looks pretty dang awesome, and I cannot wait to see more. But that about covers all of like the real highlights, but I think that there's going to be even more that Baku and I end up talking about this Sunday on Hit Point. So make sure you stick around for that. Get subscribed for that Hit Point JRPG podcast. We'll cover everything in further depth, but these were the highlights, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.